Coming at you live from my home studio in beautiful La Puente, California. This is the All Dodgers podcast. It's a special day, guys, and it's not just because it was Clayton Kershaw Day. No, my boy, your friend DMAC _LA is here. We're going to get to Doug in just a second. But on today's show, we got to talk about that. Clayton Kershaw, he was great in his return, in my opinion, but the list of concerns for this Dodgers team continued to grow today. So just as things were starting to get better, you got, injury concerns, but then there's more. There's more injuries, and they shined a spotlight on the infield for needs, but also Andy Pajed's really shining a bright spotlight on issues in center field. So today we do welcome my friend Doug McKain. We're going to talk to him, a little Blue Heaven what do they call it? Reunion trade deadline super primer ultra mega show, something like that. And that's coming up right now on another edition of All Dodgers Live. First, my name is Clint. If you don't know me, find me as Real FRG on the social media platforms. Yeah, I'll get through all the stuff. Let's get to Doug right now. Hit the subscribe if you would not mind. We just passed the 7,000 subscriber mark. I am wearing the City Connect hat because we did that, so thank you guys. Keep that momentum going. We're trying to get to 8, trying to get to 9, trying to get to 1 billion subscribers. So we'll do that as soon as you guys help us out. And one last thing. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything online sports betting. Right now, listeners of this show can receive a 50% free bet of up to $250 on your first deposit. You can bet on anything from the Olympics, baseball like we all watch, Formula One racing, and much more. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, even live odds and spreads while games are being played. It's all right there on the app. When the game is over, you can head on over to the online casino, get in on a game of blackjack, get in on a game of poker, play over 150 slot games. There's so much that you can do over at BetOnline. Again, head to that website today, get in on the action, use promo code BELIEVE, that is BLEAV, for your 50% free bet credit on your first deposit, up to $250. BetOnline, the game starts here. And the DMAC starts now. Doug McKain, what's going on? I caught him drinking some water. Douglas, how you doing, my friend?
Mr. Clint Pasillas. Hey, they say that real friends are guys that you can meet after a couple years, after a couple months, and they pick up right where they left off. So, I love talking ball with you more than anyone in the game. We're the Kobe and Shaq of Dodgers podcasters. You're winning your championships with the Heat, winning championships with the Lakers. So great to be back, and thank you for having me on your show, my man.
Appreciate you, man. Of course, you were out there at Dodger Stadium today watching Kershaw with your own eyes. Big-time sports insider dude here. Congrats on the, sucks that it had to be Kyle Hurt, but happy to see your name all around the internet, breaking the Kyle Hurt news. Big time, my friend. You're big time now.
You know what? Hey, you're the guy who really got me into this game. So I got to give you all the credit in the world. I honestly 100% mean that. And is a special show reuniting Shohei Ohtani. Hit a bomb today that was pretty much in the air for like 5 minutes. So anytime it's a special show, I got to break out the Shohei Ohtani to kick things off. It's a special night here at All Dodgers. So you know how we got to get down.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
It's good to be back, my friend. But yeah, it was great today. I mean, you look at Clayton Kershaw.
People are going to think I'm the bad influence here.
Everything feels right in the world. Shoey's, Kersh back on the mound, number 22. The Dodgers beating the Giants, really having success with a team that's still missing so many key pieces. The trade deadline is less than a week away. This is literally Christmas in July for people like myself. I don't get a lot of sleep during this time period, and it's just an exciting time to be a Dodgers fan, man. Unless we're not White Sox fans, right? The White Sox have to go on a 58-game winning streak just to make the postseason, right? We're sitting pretty here in Dodgerland.
Yes, sir, man. This is our Christmas, as you said, especially yours. This is the ultimate rumors, man. We worry about you sleeping even during not rumors season or a hot stove. You could be up watching something, some basketball game from 1976. This is a crazy mofo, everybody. As you just saw, give some what is it? Thumbs up, some hearts in the chat for the shoey. I don't know if you're doing shoeys on your show anymore these days.
Only for special occasions.
But I appreciate the love, my friend. Guys in the chat, let's see people going off in here. People are a little mad at us being late, but this is a busy man. We waited for Doug to join us. He just got back from Dodger Stadium. Before we fire off some comments, I did get a $1.99 super chat from my friend Angel Enriquez. Says, I miss you, Clint, with a heart. Thank you very much, Angel. The comments going off. The comments are going off. Eric asking, where's my drink? You know what? I messed up. It is a Thirsty Thursday, and I did not get a drink. I got Doug over here pouring Pacifico into his J's, and I don't have a drink. So hopefully the beer fairy shows up through the door, and I will rectify the situation. But a lot of love in the chat. Apparently, there's a user now, Doug, that says it's DMAC Shoe. Is this a true user?
DMAC Shoe is a guy, for sure.
That's insanity.
It's a little New Balance shoe right there. He's representing. We always appreciate that, my man.
That's crazy. All right, hey, you were at the game. Let's talk about Clayton Edward Kershaw, the GOAT. He returns to the mound at Dodger Stadium against the Giants. All is right in the world. Fires off 4 innings. If he had a little bit of help, particularly maybe in center field, if he had a little more help, maybe he could have gone through 5. But what'd you like about getting Kershaw back on the mound?
I think just first and foremost, just not taking for granted any time that it is a Kershaw day, and he does take the bump. It became his 17th year, 17 seasons in Dodgerland, and that's a new franchise record. No pitcher in the history of this storied franchise that's built on legendary arms has pitched more seasons in Dodger blue. So that definitely means something. I asked him about it after the game, and he told me I made him feel old, but then he kind of broke away and said, you know what? It's definitely special. It definitely means something just because this is an organization that's built on arms. But as far as his start goes, I was impressed. He exceeded my expectations. I mean, you saw 15 swings and misses, 6 strikeouts. I think early on, the big issue was just kind of the hard contact, especially in that 3rd inning where he threw 32 pitches, left that slider a little up to Fitzgerald. But, I mean, we also saw more changeups than we've ever seen from Kersh. I think that was one of the best changes I've seen from him as far as the shape and the way he landed it. And I think for me with Clayton Kershaw, it's one of those situations where it just somehow, some way, when all the chips fall, it just feels like he's going to factor into this mix. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing right now, but the truth of the matter is that last season before the injury, by every single metric you look at, you can look at old school stats, you can look at new school stats, you can look at every stat. He was a top 10 pitcher in baseball. And today, nothing was different. The mix wasn't different. The velocity wasn't different. So to me, there's no reason why, at the very least, his floor is serviceable. And if everything works out and he has the feel for that slider, he's commanding the 4-seam fastball, especially like he was on this one. It was a great setup pitch for him today. I think there's no reason why he can't pitch like a number 3 that has some vintage nights as well.
Yeah, I mean, we like what we saw to Kersh when we saw him coming back from the injury last year after the All-Star break. He gets shut down with that shoulder. Comes back, he's throwing that changeup a lot more. I remember us talking about it. We're a little concerned. Is there something wrong in there with for all of a sudden after years? I mean, we're talking 10, 12 years of hearing about Kershaw in spring training. Oh, I'm going to bring the changeup into the mix. We're going to try it out. We never see it in the season. He's never really needed to bring it into the season. Thank you, Beer Fairy. The Beer Fairy came through, everybody. Beer Fairy came through. So thumbs up in the chat for the Beer Fairy. But now using it as a weapon, a little bit of a weapon, something to get people off, the sniff of a 91 to 90, maybe 89 mile an hour fastball, the always change slider that's going to be in there, that slide piece. But again, I like what you're saying there about Kershaw, because I think there were a lot of folks that were worried about this team kind of lining up to rely too much on these injured dudes, and getting Kershaw back now, just under a week away from the trade deadline, I feel good entering or exiting today's game. You hope you hear that shoulder feels good tomorrow. You hope it feels good on Saturday while the team is in Houston, and then okay, Kershaw is somebody you could slot in there every 5th day, and you're not going to be – it's Clayton Kershaw. He figures it out. If he gets some defensive help behind him, he's going to figure it out. He's going to be fine. So if he is your number 3 guy, they probably didn't do what they wanted to do at the deadline, or there was another injury, or Yoshinobu Yamamoto doesn't come back. But if he is your 3 guy and he does vintage Kershaw stuff, we're in a good spot. If he's your number 4 guy, you're in an even better spot. What were the vibes there in the clubhouse? Obviously the Dodgers take 3 of 4 from the Giants. What is it? 6 of 7 on this homestand coming out of the All-Star break and Kershaw Day. Everybody's happy. Most people are healthy. What were the vibes in the clubhouse?
Yeah, the vibes were great. I mean, the smoke machine was going off. I thought it was funny. Nick Ahmed was saying how it's great to not to go against that slider that's so devastating, and for him to be a Dodger in his second game to get a real FU home run against a team that basically gave up on. I think that really was the story of the afternoon that kind of gets buried because it's Clayton Kershaw. But the vibes are strong with this team. I mean, in my experiences in that clubhouse, this is the cliched, we know when to have fun when it's time to have fun. We know when to work when it's time to work. I think this team does that better than any team in Major League Baseball because they know at the end of the day, you can't get too high and too low in regular season struggles, regular season peaks. They know that this season ultimately is going to be defined by what they do in October. But I will say just the presence of Clayton Kershaw, and he has been around the last couple of weeks, and kind of you see him leaving early after games because he's not playing that game, and he still has a presence there. But him there, it just felt like, okay, kind of we got our leader back. And this is someone who, this is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. This is a lock. This is a walking Hall of Famer. This is a walking statue. This is one of the all-time greats. So I definitely think that rubs off on some of the teammates. And look, Tyler Glasnow, he said it in the offseason. I mean, he made a pitch to the Dodgers to bring back Clayton Kershaw, and that he was one of his favorite pitchers growing up, and it's going to be a big deal to just learn from him, and their lockers are right next to each other. So, yeah, I mean, I think the vibes are strong, and what really, really kind of is the big point for me with Clayton Kershaw is you compare him to Walker Buehler, right? Buehler comes back, second major arm surgery. The first game back still had the velocity, but he never really established those secondary pitches that really took him to the next level, right? It was, okay, I'm pumping high spin, 4-seam fastballs, attacking you up in the zone. And once he wasn't able to do that, he didn't really successfully reinvent himself that much. Whereas the reason why Clayton Kershaw is a first ballot Hall of Famer is because the 4-seamer, is because the Cooperstown curve, which there was a beautiful one today where Austin Barnes didn't even freaking move. That was unbelievable. It's because of the slide piece. He throws the slider more than he does his 4-seam fastball, and he doesn't have to rely on velocity. So the reason why I think Kershaw is going to have success is because unlike a Walker Buehler, unlike a Noah Syndergaard, they have to reinvent themselves, right? Kersh does not have to reinvent himself. He just has to get healthy. And guess what? You have the best surgeon on the planet, Dr. Neil Elitrach, who's arthroscopically going there fixing his shoulder. He looks strong, and I'm just saying, there's just some magnetic energy about Kersh in this team. I know the haters, there's no Kersh slander that's tolerated here. I know the haters are probably saying, okay,
this is a devout Christian right here. You're always going to be a devout Christian. Yeah, I understand that.
But I definitely think I'm curious to see what you thought about his start. I mean, like I said, look at that changeup that he struck out Estrada with late. I mean, I thought was the nicest changeup I've ever seen him throw. So I'm interested to see if he incorporates that more to his mix. But let's also not forget too, Clint, back in 2020 when he pitched his best later in the postseason, that was when it was a 60-game season. So make of that what you will, but he is going to be as fresh as he's been. It's almost like a unofficial Roger Clemens, right? And the fact that he is going to be able to have a lot of bullets left in the clip as they get into the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, it's the perfect timing, and we knew that. I mean, I'm sure you've had enough doom and gloom on your stream the same way we get throughout the season, through all the injuries, through all the concerns. We're talking about a week ago, crying about, this is a team that needs to go out and get 2 starters now. Do they need to rebuild the entire rotation? But one of the things I was preaching, and I was almost trying to preach to myself in the offseason, it's like, just wait. All you have to do is just wait. This team has so many resources coming back at different points in the season. Ultimately, it turns out to be a lot more resources. You didn't expect Brusdar Gratterall to be down. Luckily, he's maybe about a week away, maybe less, depending on how the bullpen kind of shakes out. You don't expect to lose Yoshinobu Yamamoto, but maybe he's somebody that can bounce back at some point. But when they re-signed Kershaw, and a few people have talked about this already too, at the time, it didn't seem like they needed him. They absolutely, where do you fit in Kershaw? Is this just are they just doing this because of, the respect and admiration. We hear Andrew Friedman every year, sometimes most often much too early in October, talking about like anything Kershaw wants to do, he's going to come back here if he wants to come back here. It's like maybe this wasn't the year after they did all that rebuilding, but at some point in time, what do they also say? There's never so much thing as too much starting pitching, and once again it shows up, it bites you in the ass where crap, you need some guys. Kershaw comes back at the right time. Maybe Walker is going to be somebody that you mentioned, coming back at the right time, coming back from his little sabbatical, relearning how to be a pitcher again. So many different ways we can go with this. I want to go with this one real quick. We got $5 super chat. Thank you very much. Grizzly Oso, also a supporter on the Patreon as well. So appreciate, on YouTube members. Says, I missed this, the two of us together. Someone pinch me. And also, how do we feel about Yamamoto coming back this season? Doug, I haven't talked to you about Yamamoto a whole lot, but where are you at in your put aside the professional cap about it. Where are you at baseball wise? In your soul, do you think Yama comes back?
I do. I think it's a big question as to how effective is he going to be, and I think we're going to know early on that answer. I mean, they've slow played it. You've seen him playing catch out to 200 feet. Hasn't been clear for mound play yet. There's no timetable for really any rehab starts or anything like that. So it does feel like really haven't gotten full steam ahead as far as, okay, this is going to be imminent. But I do think that the good thing about Yamamoto is the fact that they're confident internally that he is going to come back. Brandon Gomes said as much recently. Dave Roberts has said it. You see him throwing more and more. I saw him before the game today, big smile on his face, talking to Japanese reporters, and they're grilling him with that same question, and he wants to come back. He said that's his goal, to come back. So if it was a situation where, like I've said it before, you're kind of pitching with a check engine light on, when you look at their investment, 12 years, $325 million, they make him the most lucrative pitcher in the history of this sport, I think you might be a little more precautionary. But it really just comes down to how well that rehab has gone, and the truth of the matter is, until he gets those next stages, we're not going to really know how he's going to advance.
Yeah.
I will say, I've been saying for weeks now, I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Yes.
So if they want to pretend that Yamamoto isn't going to come back and go out there and swing big for either a Skubal or a Crochet, we'll talk about, I'm assuming, in a couple minutes now. Yeah. Or if you want to go to that next tier with the Kikuchis or the Flahertys, guys like that, guys that absolutely could be impact arms that are on the same tier, at least this year, as Yamamoto, potentially on their best day, I'd be absolutely fine with that, because I think it's funny how people don't really think of Yamamoto as a rookie, right? This is a 25-year-old rookie, his first year in the show. So I think it's kind of raising the expectations for him, just because he's looked so great after that first start in Soul Salad Korea, where you get 5 runs to the Padres on those 43 pitches. Yeah. But I do have confidence that at the very least, the plan is for him to come back, and they're going to make it their mission to do everything from now until then to give it a go. I don't think it's a situation, Clint, where it's like last year, where they knew that Kersh was dealing with something pretty serious at the time, and Kersh was like, you know what, at this stage of my career, might as well go for it, right? I think, look, anytime you rotator cuff, a strain, that's a tear, right? Yeah. That definitely is something serious, but they signed him for 12 years. They didn't expect to get 12 years out of him, right? Right? So I definitely think that, look, the Yamamania, I think, will resume at some point this season. I truly do.
So where I'm concerned, you mentioned just last year kind of with the Kershaw and returning, but this has been a problem. This has been a kind of an endemic for this team over the last couple of years. In 21, it was us waiting for Kershaw to come back. He throws 2 starts or whatever, walks off the mound, holding the baseball. Our stomachs are in our ball sacks because we're so sad. I don't know if that's an expression, but I decided to run with it because I could say whatever the hell I want on my channel. But we've seen that, they're waiting for him to come back in 22, and then they run out of pitching. You run out of pitching in 21. Max Scherzer can't go. Walker Buehler gassed after, pitching 200 innings, coming off of a 60-game season. Urias gassed after pitching 180 innings, coming off of a 60-game season. This can't be the last year going and getting us doing a whole trade deadline special to watch them walk away with Lance fucking Lynn. And by the way, he just gave up another homer. This cannot be the offseason, the trade deadline where they walk away with just somebody like that. Like, it can't just be another rumor that just dropped a little bit. Dodgers reportedly are exploring, we'll say, Reed Detmers, who has a 6 ERA. Who's the other guy? They signed another guy, another has-been today too. I forget whose name it is at some point. Somebody will probably drop it in the chat. But it's like, they can't be that.
Jordan Lyles.
Jordan Lyles. You need to have one more frontline guy, especially if you have any slight inkling that Yamamoto can't come back. So that's my fear. He comes back, throws 2 games, and then all of a sudden it's barking on him and he's shut down for the rest of the season. That can't happen. We got to shout out my guy here. I'm going to call it a super chat, essentially. Gifted 5 memberships to the channel. IB Strokin. Thank you very much, IB Strokin. Always love IB Strokin here in the channel. A bunch of people picking up those memberships. We appreciate that. Let's trudge forward a little bit before we get into the rumors, guys. Don't worry, rumors are coming up. I'm not bringing the rumor meister here onto the channel to not talk about who the Dodgers could be in on and could not be in on. But you mentioned a little while ago Nick Ahmed in that situation in this game, kind of getting that opportunity to raise the middle fingers to the Giants. My favorite Nick Ahmed fun fact: he's not Cavan Biggio. That's it. That's all I got. I just wanted to throw that out there because Nick Ahmed, I mean, you were talking about a 2-time Gold Glover at shortstop. You're talking about somebody that could maybe rival Miguel Rojas at shortstop, and all of a sudden, we're going to also talk injuries in just a second. But if Miggy Rowe can't come back, and if the Dodgers don't want to put Mookie Betts back at shortstop when he returns, here's another option that is kind of around. I don't expect him to hit, but if you can get my good friend Gavin Lux kind of continuing to figure it out at the plate, you have an elite glove first guy at shortstop. You're in a good spot, especially with the uncertainty with Max Muncy, uncertainty up the middle defensively for in some situations. To have that guy there, you feel good. And the other thing I want to say about this game is, and I kind of said it at the top, I tease it a lot, and some people should be annoyed at me with the thumbnail I ran because the thumbnail has Cody Bellinger in it. But I got so annoyed watching Andy Pages today in center field, and it's been building up. It's been a problem. He's regressed in the outfield. My Andy Pages patience is wearing thin, and my first thought was, I've been staunchly no Cody Bellinger. I'm so desperate I would take Cody Bellinger back in center field at this point. But I don't know. Any thoughts? I'm just going to throw any of those to you. You can talk Ahmed, you can talk Miguel Rojas, Sensei, or you can talk Pages in center field. Keeping in mind, we got a lot of center field to talk about in just a sec.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was just a great moment as far as Nick Ahmed. I mean, the long 162 regular season, you need some of those moments where it's just kind of a random guy that steps up, a big debut to kind of keep things fresh, keep things re-energized. I mean, revenge is a dish best served with a bat. And, of course, Nick Ahmed did just that. And I was just kind of having a little panic attack. Wait, Nick Ahmed home run? Are we losing? Oh, wait a minute. He's
right?
Dodger now, right? My brain was just kind of all mixed around. I think for him, it's just a situation where it's a great story. Truth of the matter is, Nick Ahmed defensively, I mean, we're talking about a top 5 to 7 defensive shortstop, but like a lot of great defensive shortstops, kind of like Miguel Rojas for most of his career, they struggle to be average bats or above average bats. I don't think that definitely is something that's in the cards for him. But hey, I mean, look, maybe new team gets on a run here. I did see Mookie Betts taking ground balls again for probably an hour and a half at shortstop. Missed some throws, missed some backhands. The glove side range looks a little better. It does feel like with Mookie returning, he's playing a lot of shortstop. And every time I see Mookie playing shortstop, I'm like, man, that's a really good second baseman right there, right? So
yeah,
that's kind of where I'm at with that. As far as Andy Pages, I mean, you bring up Andy Pages, and I think it's kind of one of those things where, yes, you definitely want to take advantage of your farmhands, right? You definitely want to let those guys develop and take full advantage. And he was great. April, June, 2 great months. 134 weighted runs created plus. It was 34% above league average. But May and July, so he's kind of staggering these months. He's 30% below league average offensively. So you look at the defense, I mean, people will tell you that he's a right fielder. He's not a true center fielder.
Yeah.
So I definitely think he's a little miscast. I think he's athletic and he's got a strong arm, but we know that veterans they win World Series championships. And we saw last year in Game 1, we mentioned it, James Outman not making that play for Clayton Kershaw. It was a tough play, kind of, right? But if he makes that play, definitely softens the blow. I don't think that becomes Clayton Kershaw's worst start of his career, right? When the pressure mounts, you want more experience at key positions. And yeah, I'm not confident at all to say, okay, I'm comfortable with Andy Pages as my World Series winning center fielder. No, I'm not. I definitely want to see him as one of the guys they don't include in a trade, right? I'd much rather trade a James Outman or Miguel Vargas and keep Andy Pages as someone who's in this outfield mix in the future, because you need to hit on some of these younger guys to sustain it. But yeah, I absolutely think that center field, if it's 1A for starting pitching, it's close to being 1B with the center field position, because you look at next season, look, there's a ton of options out there. You look at internally, there's not a lot of guys that are true center fielders that you feel confident can take over that position. Luis Robert Jr., I've said on my show, I would drive to the airport. I would drive all the way to Tampa Bay to pick up Randy Arozarena in Grandma's Accord and take her all the way back. Take him all the way back. I would take it back to Randy Wood. I would love that. But what's better for this team long term truly is Luis Robert Jr. Because he plays that premium position, center field, at an above-average level. He's a perennial all-star. Look, I love James Outman. I love Andy Pages. I love Randy Arozarena. Are those guys that you think can hit 38 home runs in a season? The answer is no, right? Luis Robert Jr. is a better player, so I could not agree with you more. It's definitely something that needs to be addressed, and if the postseason started tomorrow and my outfielders are Andy Pages and Jason Hayward, and of course, Teo, he's not moving. He's Teo All-Star Hernandez.
Did they extend him yet, by the way? Like, when is this happening? When is this extension happening?
Get it done. It needs to happen, Andrew. We know you're watching the show, so couldn't agree more.
After the deadline. Let me get to some comments here. People are going off in the chat. Of course, we are going to be talking about rumors coming up right now after a little bit more injury stuff. But our friend Showtime LA dropping a $1.99 super chat saying, DMAC, we need Flaherty, Luis Robert, and Nico Horner. Showtime LA is somebody who hangs out with me, with all of the Patreon supporters and YouTube member supporters in our Discord chat, the All Dodgers Discord chat. You guys can join. It's $5 a month. We talk Dodger baseball all throughout the day. Well, we type about it a whole bunch. And Showtime LA was one of the people talking about something Dave Vassay mentioned on Dodger Talk this week. The idea that the Dodgers could be in on Nico Horner with now suddenly the Miguel Rojas injury makes a lot more sense. We'll pin that. We are going to talk about all three of those guys coming up in just a second. Our friend Richard Flores got to hit the gong. That's the super chat gong. Says Andy Pages, defense keeps me up at night. Kid can't even catch an effing cold. And also F the Dodger Stadium parking lot. Let's see some more. Elisheva Jones loving the emojis we have in the chat. So I don't have the chat on the video here where it shows the emojis. You got to watch live on YouTube to see those emojis firing off. Cooper Neal, there was a message retracted, but a $4.99 super chat. So I don't know what that one was. But he did do it again. My friend Cooper Neal, of course, the artist who designed a lot of this show, a lot of the graphics on this show, says, love seeing the old crew back together. And would we say that Kershaw is similar to Maddox, being the master at the craft that where age doesn't matter there? I mean, Kershaw, so I talked to Andy McCullough earlier this season, about Kershaw and his book. And I said something where McCullough corrected me on it. I called Kershaw a master of reinventing himself, which is factually inaccurate, because think about it, Doug. For 17 years, really for 15, 13, let's say, of those 17 years, we've seen the same exact Kershaw. It's just the ball gets there a little bit slower. The fastball gets there a little bit slower, but it's always the same thing. I mean, you could argue now the changeup is kind of, a little bit more of a reinvention, but I don't know. Is Kershaw somebody? I mean, you see Ellen out there. She's crying. She's having a good time. She loves it, seeing this dude back doing what he loves. Is Kershaw somebody who could now all of a sudden pitch until he's 40 if that shoulder holds up?
I mean, you look at the delivery, he just pounds the leg into the ground and just kind of the effort it requires. I'm not sure he wants to be that guy. I think that Clayton Kershaw only wants to pitch if he thinks he can help a team win a championship. He's not going to come off the bench, right? He's not going to be a Vince Carter type or some type of role player. He knows that his status in this league is an all-time great. As far as the Greg Maddux comparison, the difference is, I think with Maddux, Maddux was a guy who always used to say that he was convinced that he never thought a hitter knew the speed. He didn't think that hitters could even pick up speeds, and he painted corners like crazy. And we know that when Clayton Kershaw is at its best, he's painting corners with that four-seam fastball to set up that slider or cutter, whatever you want to call it, right, that falls off the table. But I think it just comes down to how much he wants to go through this, because Greg Maddux lived to pitch, right? Clayton Kershaw, his legacy is cemented, right? He's already beaten the game. He's just doing the side quests on the video game, right? And one of the side quests right now is to win another World Series. And I think when he does that, he's going to say, you know what? It's been a career. I'm a legend. I'm going to walk off into the sunset. But as far as how smart they are, how intelligent they are, I mean, think about Greg Maddux. This guy could pick apart hitters' tendencies. I think Clayton Kershaw is the same way. It's not when Clayton Kershaw doesn't have success, it's not like he doesn't know why. He knows exactly why when something's not going right for him. It's just a matter of executing and being able to do that at this age. But the consistency with their deliveries and what they're able to do on the mound, as far as high IQ, two of the best to ever do it.
You know, it's funny with Kershaw. He's almost like the anti-modern pitcher, too, because he doesn't really adapt to what we see in baseball now as much. He's like, I'm just going to stick doing with what I do. You know the slider's going to be here. You know, I don't know if he lost a couple of sliders or he was intentionally kind of, moving some backdoor sliders in there. But, again, all in all, very, very good first outing for CK22. Let's see, what do I say? I missed one. I don't want to Michael Correa says, I don't know ball. Clint doesn't know ball. Hey, Doug, am I a ball knower? I'm a ball knower.
One of the best ball knowers I've ever known. There's no doubt about that. Easily go in the game.
I saw a good one here. What the hell is it? Oh, Locked On Dodgers. Our friend Jeff Snyder saying, I bet Trace Thompson's available in center field. Get out of here with that trash, Jeff. That's funny, though.
Trace Thompson, man. That feels like 10 years ago.
Right. All right, we got another Super Chat in here. I'm going to fire that one off. Andres Diaz, $2.99. Super Chat, thank you very much. Andres says, my guys together again and Kershaw back. It is bliss for Dodgers fans. You got a couple of the OGs here. We've been doing this way too long, my friend, on this internet machine.
That is cool. We're doing this on the day Kershaw's back, right?
Right? Always meant to be. Always meant. $4.99 from our friend Richard Flores says, we love Andrew's visit every trading deadline. Sincerely, the Dollar Tree trash dumpsters. And a big one from our friend, the Right Field Pavilion. Always a spender here on the channel. Appreciate you either way. Right Field Pavilion, where'd it go? It just ran away from me. There it is. 1, so glad Johan Ramirez is gone. 2, impressed with Brent Honeywell. By the way, Honeywell shutting it down. The naysayers talking about a super thrift shopper, Andrew Friedman. If not, we would not have a Brent Honeywell. Hate the Apple TV games. That is tomorrow, and always great to see Doug on the All Dodgers podcast. I fully agree with that one. Guys, let's fire into. Kenny Chung said that Clint is very familiar with balls, and I say to that, bruh. By the way, did you see? I asked Gavin Lux yesterday on Dodgers territory about his bruh moment. So. Now you have some context.
That was awesome.
A little bit of context, too. Bruh. But, let's talk about injuries real quick. I know I said I was going to keep you shorter. I was going to try to keep you shorter, but you know what?
I'm free as long as you want, man.
Let's do this thing. Listen, man.
It's going to be like Game 3 of the 2018 World Series, bro. Let's go 7+ hours.
I don't know about all that, but what I love about you is you give me a chance to breathe, and that you bring my breath back is what I'm saying here, DMAC. With all due respect, I don't know. I was going to say something else. But, guys, hey, let's talk about the news and the injuries and all that. Of course, we know last night Dodgers lose CT3. Earlier in the day, they lose Miguel Rojas to the forearm thing, and this comes on the heels of me kind of saying, hey, everybody's kind of – there's a lot of positive health news. Kershaw coming back, Glasnow coming back, Yamamoto throwing. We're not too far away from maybe seeing Mookie start to really, hack at baseballs, Bruce Dark, Gratterall, and all that. But you lose a couple of these infield options. You add to that laundry list of potential trade needs for this team. So resetting the trade deadline needs here. It's like now with that, does this team need an infielder? They need an outfielder. We know that. We're going to talk about that. Do they want? Is it at this point now with Kershaw, maybe with Yamamoto? Do they want a frontline starter? Feels like that's maybe a need. Do they need a reliever at this point? Let's talk about some of the guys coming back. Doug, how do you think? Let's say names like Mookie, like Mickey Rowe now, like Max Muncy, Yamamoto, whoever else, Walker Buehler. How do you factor in? How do they try to factor in guys returning from injury and factor those guys into the plan against the current needs and the trade window that closes on Tuesday? Because some of these guys aren't coming back before Tuesday, but there are the needs now. How do they figure all of that out?
Yeah, that's why they're really in a tough spot, because they don't know what they're getting from the guys that are going to be back, and they don't know if they should rely on those guys. And if they're truly at a 10 when it comes to all in, you're probably not going to rely on every single one of those guys, A, coming back and P, performing and doing what they did before the injury. So I think the Max Muncy thing is really interesting just because he's been out for so long at this point. The defense was trending up, and it was really going to be his best and most complete season offensively and defensively. It was above average defender at the very worst average, 36 home runs, 100-plus RBIs. But it's been such a long time. Having said that, though, where do you go at third base as far as the trade market? Big man, as you pointed out earlier, he's not going to be available. Isak, Paredes over prospects, I don't think that's going to really be truly an option. I think you have to hope that he does come back, and I think they really just want to see if they can get him back and give him a month to find the rhythm at the plate, because if he's back, he can't be a DH. Yep. He doesn't have the requisite range after the restricted shift to be a second baseman. He has to be a third baseman when he comes back. And then you look at shortstop. I mean, Miguel Rojas, by the way, Miguel Rojas went on my show, and he's been 0 for 9 and got injured. So the curse of Dodgers dugout lives. But the truth about Miguel Rojas is, look, I talked to people today. They don't think it's going to be major. They truly believe that this is just a little bump in the road, that he's going to be back. And the way that Dave has talked about Miguel Rojas, about the conversation needs to be had that he stays at shortstop potentially when Mookie Betts comes off the IL, that tells you that at the very least he's in the mix. At the very least, they've seen enough from him at the plate to say that maybe this could be an option moving forward. But also, like Miguel Rojas told me, that the more you play shortstop, one of the more demanding positions in all sports, the more it tends to bleed into what you do at the plate. So I don't like that for Rojas. I don't like that for Mookie, right? So that is the ultimate. I mean, Bo Bichette, is there any chance they can still get a Bo Bichette? It's been kind of quiet on the Bo Bichette front. And Buster Olney told me that he's not going to sign an extension in Toronto, that he's made it known. People around him have told him, okay, this is not a great fit for you. Do they revisit that? Because I think the Dodgers realize that, look, even with a Ahmed, right, or Rojas, they know that if you want to just have a defensive-minded shortstop and just eat bad offense, knowing you have guys like Ohtani and Freddie and this powerful lineup that can really supplement that, you could go that direction. So if you're going to trade for a shortstop, to me, it would have to be for someone that can give you something at the plate, someone that can be additive from that standpoint. But really, let's be honest here, Mr. Pasillas, what's really thrown a wrench into this whole conversation is the production of Gavin Lux in the last 16 games. The last 16 games, he's slugging more than Shohei Ohtani. I mean, he's right up there, and he's going to left. You're seeing better at-bats, and he was headed to being optioned. Let's be 100% honest. He's going to be optioned or he's going to be traded, but he doesn't give you any positional versatility. So I think the number one thing you have to decide is, what are you going to do with Mookie Betts? Are you going to put him at shortstop? If that's the case, I think that's probably what they're going to do right now. Just that would be my gut instinct. Seeing him, I mean, come on, man. This guy's out there, like, putting in work and doing reps at that position. Doesn't look like someone who's going back to right field when you're doing it for 2 hours. 2 hours before game. The wrap was off today. Feels like that, at least right now, it's probably going to be Mookie Betts back at shortstop.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're at least keeping that in their back pocket. That's what it feels like to me. By the way, Gavin Lux, you know, some people are saying that I fixed him by talking all this mad crap about him, and not even crap, just you know, really laying it out there, and then also having him on the show fixed him. But that was just yesterday. It's been a longer stretch. He has an OPS at 801 over his last 25 games. I forget what he did today, but this could be the real deal, and I fully agree with that. I think that absolutely threw a wrench in this team's plan. But on Mookie, and they all kind of work together. What I've been saying, what I've been wondering, what I've been thinking is, if you can't go out, if this team can't go out and acquire Luis Robert Jr., then, you know, Randy Arozarena is the most obvious option they need to go after next. If not both of these guys, I doubt they get both. But if they are picking one of those guys, or they can only end up with Randy Arozarena. I'm saying at this point, if Gavin Lux is this, what we're seeing is the real deal, and Miggy Rowe comes back and is your shortstop, and Max Muncy comes back and is your third baseman, then I'm sorry, Mookie, you're going to have to go back to the outfield. You're going to have to also go to center field, and maybe he would like playing center field again. I appreciate Bulldog. Oral Hershiser brought up the fact that maybe, just maybe, there is a chance that Mookie can go back to the outfield. I don't think it's going to be right field because they already have too many right fielders on this team as it is that are trying to play center field. Mookie, we know, you know firsthand as well. This dude is an athlete. He can do everything at an elite level. We've seen him make some insane plays in center field as well. Is that an option in your opinion? You're somebody who's there at the field. You see him again, kind of continuing to work. I wonder if that's almost out of his own pride, being like, I don't want to go back to the outfield. Obviously, I'm not going to take grounders at second base while Gavin Lux is there, and he's somebody who, if he sees that, he might see like the walls kind of closing in on him. Is center field an option for Mookie?
I think at least for this year, he would absolutely be on board with that. I think if you're Mookie Betts at this point, you look at the way he played shortstop, and he had to give every single ounce of effort just to be average to below average. And I think you have to be fair and point out that a couple weeks before the injury, he was really taking some giant steps forward. The instincts were really starting to get there. We're seeing more consistency. So I almost wonder just what it would have been like if he avoided that injury and how he would look at this part of the season and how good he would have looked at shortstop. And then you'd probably feel better about it. But also, if you're Mookie, you're still saying that, okay, that was one of the hardest things you've ever had to do, right? Play shortstop. It doesn't seem as hard to play center field anymore. It doesn't seem as hard to play right field. So I think it's one of those situations where Mookie kind of went to the front office. They had a conversation and said, you know what? I don't want to run from right field to the dugout 9 times a game. I don't want to dive and try to risk further injury. Really, his lateral movement in the outfield hasn't been the same since that hip injury a couple years ago. But having said all that, Mookie now knows what it's like to play shortstop, so that doesn't seem so bad if you're Mookie Betts at this point. So I think that as a team player, there's no doubt about it. I mean, he is a Gold Glove winning outfielder, a 6-time Gold Glove winning outfielder. That he could pick it up overnight. The question is, who do they acquire at the outfield spots? And 2, how confident are they in the sustainability of Gavin Lux at second base? I mean, it feels like to me the floor for Gavin Lux at this point, just with everything kind of starting to click, the confidence being there, the floor to me is someone that is going to be average at the very least. But I also think that really deep in my heart of hearts, I truly think that he is a 15 to 20% above average hitter. I think that's who he is on his best day. So you need guys like that, especially with the team that's built to sustain winning. But I think if you're Mookie Betts, I could absolutely see in the outfield. Yeah. But I also think, too, that those are positions where you have 2 players available, guys like Randy Arozarena and Luis Robert Jr. that could be had. Arozarena is extremely available. Yes. And that is, if you're the Rays, you're probably saying, wait a minute, the Dodgers took our president, they took Tyler Glasnow. Now you want Randy F off, right? But no, that's what they do.
It's a match made in heaven, man. These two organizations working together, it just keeps working out.
For sure. So if you get Randy, though, look, let's draw this picture out. You get Teoscar in right, where he's just gotten better and better over the last couple of seasons. Mookie in center, and Randy in left.
Randy would.
Where's the parade?
Listen, I've been saying for a hot minute, I think you and I talked a good amount about Randy last year as well. Like the idea of Randy Arozarena in Dodger blue. Randy Wood, I could already see it on the walls in left field. I could already see the marketing. Him doing the thing, people getting into it. Randy's got to be a Dodger. And if it is Randy Arozarena, if it is Mookie Betts in center field, which, you know, his whole thing about, he didn't like running out to right field, but his right field is boring. It is a boring position. I've played it, not at a professional level, not at an MLB level, but I've played it at a fat guy slow pitch softball league level. It's not a fun position. That's just a reality. You get him in center field, a position where he's impacting almost every play. He could back up plays and all of this. Listen, what did he tell us when he signed that extension? He came here to win rings. You got to sometimes sacrifice that pride. Maybe you're coming back, you're not leading off anymore, and maybe when you come back, you're not on the infield. We're putting that on the back burner until next year, because the best version of this team right now, if all things fall a certain way, the best version is him out in center field. And that's just kind of a reality.
And to your point, too, as far as kind of addressing that shortstop position, look, there's no guarantees that Bo Bichette is going to be a change of scenery guy that is going to find it in L.A. He's a negative defender. He's not a plus defender. So you're putting a guy at the shortstop position that you're banking on him figuring out this season, which I'm sure he'll perform a little better. But, I mean, we saw Vladimir Guerrero Jr. got off to a slow start, and then he caught fire, and he looks like the guy he was. So he's had a long enough period of time this year to find it, and he just hasn't. And then you give yourself the flexibility to truly address that shortstop position in the offseason. Miguel Rojas has the club option. You're going to pick that up around $5 million. But then you can have serious conversations with Willy Adames and make him your shortstop for the future.
Or Hassan Kim. Yeah, I think
Hassan Kim's chance will be fire.
Where they fix this shortstop issue is in the offseason. I asked Gavin Lux also about the potential of moving back to shortstop yesterday. He said, obviously, fairly, not something he's thinking about yet. He's not thinking at all about shortstop, and I don't think he should be. He could be somebody who's traded in the offseason. He could be somebody that settles in at second base. I just don't see a spot there. I don't want to make this about Lux. I don't see a spot there, especially if the plan is the rest of Mookie Betts' career is going to be at second base. But if Mookie's at shortstop next year, the Dodgers did something very, very wrong in the outfield. But we're not talking about 2025. We're talking about getting to that title here in 2024. So one of the things that happened today is obviously the Garrett Crochet thing. So let's talk about that, because I think that very much affects the Luis Robert talks, because what I've been seeing for this team, what I kind of envision for this team, and I'm sure you do the same, is a blockbuster. It is a multiplayer deal. 4 or 5 Dodgers, 6 Dodgers going one way, 2 or 3 players coming back, including if we're looking at Chicago, it was probably going to be Crochet, and it was probably going to be Luis Robert, and maybe one more piece, maybe now Paul DeJong kind of mixed in there. But you look at this Crochet situation where he's pretty much saying, like, hey, I'm not going to pitch in the postseason unless somebody signs me to an extension. I don't know if you did a show today. I know you were at Dodger Stadium earlier. What are the reactions for you to this Crochet, thing that was revealed, the revelation?
Kind of the first thing I was just kind of racking my brain with was, has this ever really happened where you have a guy in his first arbitration year just flexing like that and using that leverage? Yeah. I mean, we saw what Josh Hader did a couple seasons ago where he said, okay, I'm only going to close games. I don't want to be this multi-inning guy, because he hadn't gotten his bag. And I've been saying on my show the last couple of days, kind of funny you mentioned that, I've been saying that with Crochet, they should do what they did with Glasnow and trade for him and extend him just so he has that peace of mind to say, you know what, I can empty the clip in the postseason and we can get that World Series. And then, you know what? That's all that matters. I mean, look, Steven Strasburg, 2019, 6 starts, a sub-2 ERA. How many starts in the postseason since then? Zero. But the Nationals are still celebrating that World Series title. So I think if you're Garrett Crochet and you're putting this out there, one, this is very agent-fed, right? This is a calculated move. Anytime you see John Heyman in on it, it's very calculated. Yep. And 2, who is Garrett Crochet's agency? He's a CAA guy. That's also a Shohei Ohtani guy. So it makes you wonder how these pieces kind of are moving, because anytime you have an extension, you need a window to negotiate with the team. So we are less than a week before the trade deadline where Garrett Crochet is the one high-level arm that you expected to be traded. Skubal has kind of been the pie in the sky. Yeah. But there's no guarantee he's going to be moved. But Crochet truly was that a top-tier, top-shelf guy that was expected to be moved. And that player now is coming out saying that, okay, I want to routinely pitch. I want to start because, look, I mean, the data really does say that you do want to kind of maintain it. But the truth of the matter is that probably could turn off teams, or it could help a team like the Dodgers, right? I think that eliminates a lot of teams. I don't think a team like the Orioles is that interested in trading for a Crochet, a high-risk player, and extending him, whereas a team like the Yankees and a team like the Dodgers, that checks off that box. Those are the teams you look for moves like that. So, look, I think this could be a situation where if you're the Dodgers and you're hell-bent on adding a frontline guy like a Garrett Crochet, I could actually seeing this help them.
The funny thing is I have the opposite feeling of it. I think the Dodgers' interest in Crochet ended today with that, just because they can't go commit more money to another player, especially when we're looking down the line next year. Who's entering the starting rotation? It's Shohei Ohtani. Is Roki Sasaki going to be a Dodger? Yeah, most likely, but you still have a lot of pieces around. We're still talking about a lot of these rookies too. We don't know what Justin Wrobleski is going to be somewhere down the road. We don't know what River Ryan is going to be somewhere down the road, but they still have Bobby Miller. They still, for now, if they don't trade him, if he's not involved in a Crochet deal, of course, still have Gavin Stone, who is now like the most untouchable guy, like rookie. He's cemented in that rotation. Kershaw can come back next year if he wants. What are they going to do with Walker Buehler? Like, at some point, you have too many guys, and I don't know if, I mean, Crochet is one of those guys. If you are going to want him around or have him around in your rotation, he's a guy. He's a guy you want around. Tarik Skubal is a guy that you have no problem kind of sending, a 6-for-1 deal, kind of a Manny Machado type of deal to get him into LA. But when you're talking about this and you're saying that, I mean, it's a bad clubhouse move for sure. I just can't imagine like telling your teammates, sorry, I'm not going to pitch. You just acquired me. I'm not going to pitch for you guys in the postseason because I'm worried about. In all fairness, it's fair, very fair to him to worry about his arm, worry about his career, his future, his livelihood, and all that. But it's just, I don't know where it fits in the Dodgers' plan. I really don't now, just because I don't see them committing more money at this point. Less than 6 months after committing to $1.3 billion in players. That's where I'm at. I think it ended today, the Crochet to LA. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I would love to see the kid here, though.
I mean, you could, at the end of the day, possibly be right if they're truly hard and firm on that. I mean, that's just insane when you think about it. I won't pitch in the postseason unless you pay me X. That's one of the biggest power moves I've ever seen for someone in Crochet's position, because if you're Crochet's people at CAA, you're basically telling people out there, wait a minute, 3-4 dominant months, and you want me to give you $100+ million?
Right.
We've never even seen you pitch for our organization, right? But wait a second. Who's the organization that went out there and signed Yoshinobu Yamamoto, a guy that never threw one pitch in the show, and they gave him the most lucrative contract ever to a starting pitcher? Who's the organization that traded for a pitcher in Tyler Glasnow that had the reputation of being a pitcher that often gets injured? They did that, and they extended him. So this organization, they're not that risk averse when you think about it. I mean, they went out there and they still signed Trevor Bauer a couple years ago, even though there was a lot of baggage then. I mean, this is the organization that if you're truly trying to find that missing puzzle piece, and Brandon Gomes said a couple of days ago that we're not looking at the margins. Yeah. And Andrew Friedman also said this to Bill Plunkett of the Southern California News Group, that it's not about marginal upgrades, right? It's about who are these big impact moves that can change the trajectory of the season. And Crochet truly is that one guy. So if you're the Dodgers and you look at him as someone that could be a pitcher for you in the future, maybe you consider going that route, because the truth of the matter is, if you're going to trade for him anyway, he was going to be under 2 more years of team control, right? So if you're trading for Crochet, knowing he was going to be a part of this rotation, even when Shohei Ohtani comes back, even when Roki Sasaki is in Dodger blue pitching in Japan against the Cubs next season, even when you got Bobby Miller, and as you mentioned, Gavin Stone, you do have farmhands that have started to develop and contribute to this team. The Dodgers, knowing all of that, have still shown interest and really made offers to the to the White Sox for Crochet, knowing that. So if you're looking at basically 3 more years on top of that with just a bigger contract, maybe it's not a deal breaker. I mean, these guys have 40 Shohei Ohtani bobblehead nights a year, right? Have 50. Have just decoy bobblehead nights. Have a Mamiko one. Have him and Mamiko playing basketball. Do whatever you got to do.
Let me call Lon. I'm gonna call Lon Rosen right now. I think we can make a Mrs. Ohtani bobblehead night happen for sure. A couple of comments.
Are
Cole,
you a Skubal or a Crochet guy though? I mean, we'll get into that, but
well, I was say, I like what Cole said. Crochet sounds like a diva, and also the fact that he wants to stay in the rotation. He won't be open to other roles. This is a team that needs to be open to optionality, open to whatever role is needed, because when it comes to October, the script is done. The computers need to be thrown away, and it's about the feeling. It's about what the team needs that day. That said, if I'm going all in and Tarik Skubal is available, I think you have to go out and get yourself the current American League Cy Young Award frontrunner, because he is good. He's also a grown man. He's ready to go right now. He's polished, and he's going to be able to let it eat into the postseason. So I like Skubal. But that said, there's no way in hell Detroit trades Tarik Skubal unless they want to I said it on my stream last night. It is a slap in the face to fans of the Tigers to do that, and it's just bad business trading away one of your dudes right now.
That's true. I mean, by all accounts, they're not extremely serious, and they have to be absolutely blown away with an offer. I know it's been thrown around about the Javi Baez situation, about taking on that contract, but the truth of the matter is, if you're Detroit and your championship window is past the 2-year mark where you would have Skubal, then you're saying you're down to the studs. And it's better to have high-level prospects that the Orioles could give you instead of another team absorbing a contract. We've seen what the Dodgers have done with Crawford and the Agon deal and the David Price deal for Mookie Betts. Yes, they can absorb money. That's definitely a direction that they would go in. But having said that, I think that this is an organization that's hell-bent on using other avenues and using their farm system, because you have to trade some of these guys at some point that are blocked at certain positions. And I think that Crochet, I still think that Crochet is a possibility. I truly believe that, because the Dodgers have made it clear. The Dodgers, anytime the Dodgers have made it clear, like going back to Shohei Ohtani in the offseason, when they went out there and said that Shohei Ohtani is our number one priority, that means that you could say, okay, if they didn't get Shohei, then their offseason was a failure by their own goals that they were trying to achieve. Well, they've already came out there and said, we're looking for an impact arm, right? That was by design, in my opinion. They wouldn't have done that unless they were pretty confident that they'd be able to get a deal done. But the big kicker here is this. I looked it up yesterday. This season, you have 7 teams that have 5% chance of making the postseason right now. Just 7 teams. Back before the expanded postseason in 2021, you had 14 at this time. There's just not enough sellers and too many buyers, and the Dodgers have competition. I also think, too, the Luis Robert Jr. move as well, and his contract and everything he brings. Luis Robert Jr. doesn't make sense for every single team that could be interested in Crochet. The truth of the matter is, Luis Robert Jr. makes all the sense in the world for the Dodgers, and so does Crochet. And I also think Michael Kopech does too. I would love to see Kopech included in that deal as well. So I still think, you're trying to pour cold water on my Crochet dream, and I don't appreciate it.
I mean, you're not wrong in your kind of take on it, and your assumptions on it, and your feelings on it, because the report came out a month ago, earlier this month, where the Dodgers had reportedly made an offer that was rejected to the White Sox for Crochet. So it makes sense that they, Andrew is in his kind of, I want it, I got it. I said he's in his Ariana Grande moment era right now. If he wants it, he goes out and gets it, because this front office wants to win. This ownership group wants to win. They need to show Shohei Ohtani. We're not fucking around when we said what we told you in private, that we are pissed about the last 3 years of Dodgers postseason play, and we're going to do everything we can, despite everybody's, I'm going to say it again, guys, everybody's pets' heads falling off, cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria of all of these injuries. They're still right there. They're still in it, and they're still just a couple of pieces away with a bunch of dudes potentially coming back as well. Man, there's so much more on the table we can do. I don't want to keep you here forever, but it feels like we still got to dive more into center. I barely mentioned Cody Bellinger. I just want you to say you're out on Cody, just for everybody. You're out.
Yeah, I always say you never want to reheat the McDonald's French fries, right? They never taste the same. 2019, Bellinger isn't walking through that door. He's really become a liability as far as the injuries. And he's not the same player that he was. I mean, he's not a guy that smokes the baseball. The Dodgers, they covet hard contact. He's really more of a contact hitter this time around. And for me, Cody Bellinger, that's not an option for me. It truly isn't. I definitely would much rather go with your Mookie Betts back in center field, in my opinion, and then go with Randy. Because Randy is attainable. I mean, for me, look, everyone you ask, every show you see, I mean, the Tampa Bay Rays do this, okay? Once they got to start paying off that credit card bill, they start selling stuff off, right? And he's
making $8 million. Yep, 2 more years, right?
Up 2 more years. The thing about Randy is he's a below-average defender, doesn't have a great arm, but that's not why you trade for Randy Arozarena. You mentioned all the intangibles, the electricity, the marketing opportunities, how much he would appeal to the fan base, but most importantly, with the Tampa Bay Rays, he's batting second. He's batting third. They're looking for him to be the key cog in that lineup. With the Dodgers, he's 6th. He's 7th. And he's an 11.04 postseason OPS. I mean, don't try to tell me that there's not certain players that when the lights get bright, they turn it on. So I think that the Tampa Bay Rays, if it's for me, the number one priority is the Crochet, Luis Robert Jr., Kopech, some deal with the Chicago White Sox. Then you see a combination of the top guys in DePaula and Rushing and Jackson Ferris, some lesser arms. And then, look, I think Miguel Vargas is another guy and James Outman. I mean, they're going to try to trade a combination of the younger guys and see who they'd be interested in as far as the big league ready talent. But if that is not successful, I would absolutely pivot right to Tampa Bay and try to get a multiplayer deal with a Pete Fairbanks. With a look, if they strike out on a pitcher, Zach Eflin is a guy that can help this team, depending on how the staff is looking and how they're evaluating in the next couple of days. But Fairbanks, under a couple more years of team control, Randy Arozarena is as well. Paredes is another guy, kind of pie in the sky too. I don't think that is that realistic, but I think that's a no-brainer right there because people, I think, view Arozarena because of what they saw in 2020 as someone who might have just insane trade value, right? He doesn't have insane trade value, right? Paredes and Luis Robert Jr., all these guys are on whole other levels as far as what it would require to attain them. Randy you can go and get. And that to me, because if you don't, here's the thing, I'm afraid that if they don't get Randy, he either goes to the Mariners. And for me, I would just feel bad to see him in Seattle. Okay, that's a nightmare. Just ask my friend Teoscar Hernandez. But also, I don't want to see him in Philly. And
oh God, that would be
Philly.
Oh, that would be horrifying. I'm behind here on super chats. Noah Ortega, perfect timing, saying Latinas love Randy after the World Baseball Classic. You know, big time Team Mexico guy.
Arozarena makes him Randy. I mean, you know it.
And you know, talking about Isaac Paredes, you know, if they're getting somebody, I'm not looking exclusively at a shortstop. This is a team where I'd rather see somebody that leans more towards third base. A name I brought up yesterday on my show here was Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who it appears is more likely than not to be traded by Toronto. He's won a Gold Glove at third base in the past. He's not Isaac Paredes. He's not Nico Horner. He's not Luis Rengifo, but he's also somebody that is very, very much attainable, available, and all of that kind of stuff. I don't know if you've gone that route. Hold on. Yeah, thoughts on IKF?
Yeah, IKF is definitely a player that could help this team. I just don't know if it's – I mean, if you can get a deal done, if you're looking at Kikuchi as like a secondary option, we know this team likes to get multiple players in deals. That's definitely something they do to try to increase the value because you're already having to overpay in this market as it is. But, yeah, IKF, I mean, when we were doing our show together, I brought up IKF when he was kind of at his lowest point, but he's really having the best year at the plate than he ever has.
Yes,
I mean, look at
solid,
this season. This is his best year at the plate, and defensively, what he brings is definitely a option where it's a name that for sure I would be interested in if you strike out on plan A, B, or C. I mean, a part of me kind of doesn't want to rely on the guys that are coming back, but I think that I'm a little more inclined to just be patient with the position players than I am the pitchers, because the pitchers are the ones that have burned this team for so many years. Even when they came back, they're not the same guy. Tony Gonsolin in 22, Blake Treinen in 22. Max Scherzer was great until he wasn't, and Walker Buehler was great until he wasn't.
Dustin May in there.
Dustin May. Yeah. And what was he eating, by the way?
I don't know. Probably some elk he shot or something like that. Listen, I don't want to throw the kid under the bus. I mean, from what I understand, it was a very traumatic experience. But I'm also wondering, by the way, there's another name I didn't throw into that mix. D. May is still a guy that's under team control. Tony Gonsolin is a guy that's under team control. So when you're talking about adding, you know, I think it makes a lot more sense now at this point after seeing Kershaw as we circle all the way back. It makes a lot more sense for this team to maybe go out and explore Jack Flaherty. Somebody on an expiring deal that can get you some innings, but maybe if Walker Buehler doesn't figure it out, they can kind of, you know, they could have him be their 3 or 4 guy, a Flaherty, or he could be in the bullpen as long as it's not like Ryan Yarbrough in the bullpen, anybody that's taking like that kind of spot. Again, it's about just piling up as many assets. You're getting as many Pokemon cards as you can, and you're trying to, you know, play the best ones to beat everybody. I don't know. I lost the analogy. I don't play Pokemon, so that's my bad.
I'd rather be Charizard and just light everyone on fire. You know what I mean? Like that's kind
fire always wins, right?
Exactly. So the thing is, like, I have been on board with Flaherty too because it's one of the more Dodger moves, right?
Yeah.
A guy that is going to be a free agent after the season. He has gotten back on track this year, having his best year since 2019. If you look at his strikeout numbers, right there in the top 10, they know that's what plays up. But when you get in the conversation with Flaherty, it just makes you wonder if things work out, which we know that typically they don't all work out, but then it's like Buehler and Kersh and Stone and everyone that's kind of in that mix. Flaherty would fit into that little bucket right there, right? Guys that would get the ball. When you go out there and get that top level guy, it's no debate. And also, too, I kind of want to point out, too, I mean, look, Tyler Glasnow, man, his ERA has gone up every single month of the season. The
It's
innings
not
count
talked about enough.
is already going to be a career high. The game start is already going to be a career high. So, yes, I want Tyler Glasnow to be the absolute horse for this team. One of the biggest X factors for this team heading into the postseason is Tyler Glasnow going to be the guy that they traded for him to be? Is he going to be that guy that can put this team on his back? But after what I've seen the last couple of starts, the last couple of months, quite frankly, I don't think you can just say with full confidence that, oh, he is going to be that ace. He's going to be that lights-out guy that we know that this team needs. Because, look, this team hasn't had that four-seam fastball, just dominant starting pitcher since Buehler in 2020, really, right? You haven't had that, and they know that's what wins, right? So if you have Glasnow and Crochet, you have the top two strikeout guys in the game. So kind of for me, if you don't go out there and get the premier starter, I think you focus on outfield. And I also think, too, look, I mean, Evan Phillips, he's starting, he had a pretty successful
I'm not too worried
today.
about him, honestly.
I'm not worried about Phillips, but I definitely think that if you look, Tanner Scott's a guy that could go to Philly. He could go to the Yankees. The Dodgers could absolutely benefit from another foul baller out of the bullpen as well. So, look, the point is, I think just try to get high upside guys. Don't make a trade just to make a trade, right? Sometimes the best trades are the ones you don't make. For me, it's almost upside or bust because, look, you only go out to dinner sometimes because you have no food at home, right? The food at home is bad. The food at home is still pretty tasty for the Dodgers. It's only go out to eat if it's like a 5-star restaurant or something like that. That's kind of where I'm at with this team because you still have a lot of talent internally where you can still give yourself a right push. And we know that, look, the postseason is going to be a crapshoot at the end of the day as far as that NLDS round. But once you get out of the NLDS round, then that I really feel confident this team's going to go far.
Yeah, if you're going out to eat, by the way, don't go wherever Dustin May went. That's one right there. So, boom, we hit a burn there. And if you guys want, DMAC makes some fire quesadillas with the Cholula? Yeah. Oh, that's fire. You know,
I always have it in my purse.
I want to make sure I hit this one as well. Swelling Sausage, $1.99 Super Chat saying, forget Crochet, let's get Mason Miller, who decided to break a finger, and he was somebody. I was never high on Miller. I would rather see them get Tanner Scott anyways if they are going to go and get Evan Phillips insurance, but I don't want to talk too much about that. I want to back up for a second, and then I got to let you get out of here at some point, but we got to talk Walker Buehler for just a minute because that's my X factor, and I think that's been the very clear missing piece for this team that has been bounced in the postseason for the last 2 Octobers. They have been Walker Buehler-less for both of those Octobers. We're talking about a guy that after his first 2 postseason outings, or let's just say his last 13 postseason outings that he's made in his career, 2.26 ERA. You take away a couple of those in 2021 just through most of or through 2020. 1.8. Sorry, I'm too excited about Walker. That's the point here. He had a 9-start stretch. This is what I'm trying to say. 9-start stretch with a 1.28 ERA. I was talking to our buddy Stan a couple days ago. He was trying to trash on Walker Buehler, and I was like, "Have you actually seen his fucking numbers when he's right in the postseason? This guy was an absolute dog in the postseason. He's got that TA stuff that we saw in 22." That's my X factor. You don't need to go out and get a Crochet if Buehler has it figured out. You don't need to get a Jack Flaherty if Buehler has it figured out. But that's another one of those big ifs, and that's the thing that's been giving me anxiety for the last number of weeks, maybe even a month and a half. Is this team going to worry too much about those guys coming back from injury who, yes, when all is right and well, are phenomenal players, but they've been burned going down that route before. So you kind of got to be proactive, and you got to go out and get some of these guys, whether it's a Flaherty, whether you say, honor our boy DMAC here and go and get Garrett Crochet so I look like I'm wrong. You got to make some moves. Randy Arozarena, come on down. You got to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, look, I will say this about Walker Buehler. There's not anyone in Major League Baseball that's a pitcher in the game that's more intelligent, that knows who he is better. The only thing with Walker Buehler is it's almost like Superman kind of has lost his cape a little bit in the sense that his cape basically was that four-seam fastball. And opponents this season hitting 378 off that four-seam fastball. The spin isn't where it was. He's given up too many home runs this season. He's allowed 10 home runs in 37 innings of work. I mean, that's definitely an issue with him. And I just don't think he really knows who he is as a pitcher, right? I mean,
really
you look at his pitch mix. I mean, cutter and sinker and knuckle curve. I mean, you're not seeing a guy that can say, you know what, I'm going to rear back. I'm going to challenge you. I'm attack you up in the zone. And it's going to be that butane FU mentality, right? It's low octane butane right now compared to what it was. I am encouraged by the fact that velocity wise, that it's pretty consistent, but it doesn't have the spin and the same electricity in that life.
I got some sticky stuff for him.
He just leaves it a little too out over the plate in certain spots. So I think for Buehler, it's tough because he just isn't what he was. And I don't think that if a team is truly all in, he can be your X factor. He's someone that, man, if he comes back, great. I was even saying a couple
He's a bonus at this
months
point,
ago that for a guy that wants to get paid, for a guy that's entering free agency, I mean, I don't think that he's a qualifying offer guy. Right, I don't think he's a guy that you really do that with at that point. But look, I can tell you that there's no one that would be happier than me to see Buehler return to that level of dominance. But you mentioned the sabbatical, went to Florida, which is not too unusual. Pitchers have done that, but they just didn't pitch for the Dodgers, right? It was more publicized. But it just feels like he's looking for something, and he almost feels like he has to find something and have that light bulb go on, that eureka moment where I've unlocked something to get back to where he was. But I don't think that you can rely on Walker Buehler to come back and just be that ace that we saw in the postseason. Could it happen? Sure.
Yeah.
But for a team that Shohei Ohtani, I mean, I thought it was very interesting. I mean, after the game a couple nights ago, we were talking, Shohei Ohtani's talking to reporters and was asked about the trade deadline. And he said, yeah, they haven't talked to me yet, but if they ask me about it, I will definitely give them my opinion on certain players. I mean, when have you ever seen any player in baseball say that? That tells me, hey, I deferred 97% of my salary, and it's not to rely on injured players coming back because I need to win a World Series. So I think that Shohei Ohtani is definitely a factor. I mean, I would not like to see walk through that hallway and be Freeman and Gomes the next day after the deadline, and all they got was IKF, right? Even though it'd be great.
And
right?
they brought back Lance Lynn.
And you brought back Lance Lynn, right? I mean, that's why I feel like all these things are factors as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree on Buehler. You can't rely on him. That's just a beautiful bonus if he comes back. I like him going out and kind of doing his spirit quest. I think look at how long. I mean, we're talking about from blowing out his elbow in 22 for basically all of that time straight. Rehabbing, working your ass off, hearing the same things from the same people over and over. Him going to the Cressy pitching performance complex or whatever exactly it's called, just getting a different opinions from other people he also knows. I like that. Also, them bringing in Rick Honeycutt, I think just it's about different voices. It's not. I love what he said. It's not an indictment on Mark Pryor or Clayton McCullough, Rob Hill. It's nothing about those guys. Sometimes it's about just something different. And that was one of the things I was arguing about with Gavin Lux. It's about something different. He needed a change. His change was talking to his uncle and getting back to those good vibes again. We know Luxy, he's a vibes guy, and once he gets going, he can just let it roll. The same with Buehler. Once he kind of gets it figured out, he can let it eat, and we could get that guy back. But you can't rely on it. All right, I'm gonna let you go on this one. What is your bold trade deadline prediction?
I have to I planted my flag a couple pretty much months ago. I still think they're gonna go out there and find a way to get a deal done for an ace level starting pitcher, Garrett, Crochet, Tarik, Skubal, somehow, some way. But I think Crochet and Luis Robert Jr. doing that deal with the White Sox. They've had communication for weeks now. It's just a matter of finalizing a deal if they can. So, look, is it likely right now after the extension thing? I don't feel as confident as I have, right? But I definitely think that that's the move they need to make. And if not, Randy Arozarena. So I will say either Randy Arozarena in a combination with some Rays players. I wouldn't be surprised if Pete Fairbanks was included in that deal. It's a Rays or White Sox trade deadline for the Dodgers. One of those two teams will be sending players to LA next week.
Hey, our boy Cody's in the chat. He says he wants Kevin Pillar, bro.
Kevin Pillar, man, that's your boy. What up, Cody Lou? He's living in Connecticut now.
I know. Our little boy grew up.
Cody Lou, man.
And for the folks that don't know, our old producer, our good friend Cody Lou, he grew up. He works at Big Time ESPN out in Bristol, Connecticut. So shout out to our boy Cody. Always love that dude. Miss working with him. Miss working with you, my guy. Always good times there. My bold prediction is going to be it's more of a wish list. I got a laundry list that a shopping list I'm going out and getting. On that list at the top of it, I got to bring home Randy Arozarena or the wife's going to be mad at me. I want to bring home Tanner Scott or the wife's going to be mad at me. But we have some spare Tanner Scott in the fridge if everything goes wrong. Jack Flaherty just makes a bunch of sense, and I got to see Isaiah Kiner Falefa or somebody along that. If it's a Nico Horner, that's great. I wish with all of my soul that the Rangers would have been asked for the last month, because they could have tried to get a Josh Smith. They could have tried to get Nate Eovaldi or something like that, but that's not a reality. So many names, so little time. 5 days, my friend. 5 days. It's 5 days. It's here.
I will say one team that you want to closely monitor is that Rangers team, but now they're only 2.5 games back.
Right there.
I was loving the idea of a Kirby Yates, a Eovaldi, something along those lines. But we know who the sellers are. We know who the buyers are. Not a lot has changed that significantly since the All-Star break and since the teams have returned. We know who the big names are going to be. It's just a matter of who's available and if the Dodgers really kind of have that prospect capital to wow a team, right? They're not going to market with gold anymore. It's almost like going with silver. You want $1, we'll give you 4 quarters type thing. But I also think that this team knows that if they go to the offseason and they don't win the World Series, it's going to just continue to compound. It's going to be Dave Roberts hot seat stuff. It's going to be you committed $1.2 billion in the offseason. If you win it in year 1, I think the dam breaks and we get a dynasty. I truly do believe that. I truly do believe that if you win it in year 1, all of the pressure, all of the naysayers who talk crap about 2020 and they don't think that this organization can win a full 162-game World Series, it's going to snowball. And this is a great front-running team. We've seen that for the last couple of seasons. That's why I think it's so pivotal to get it done in year 1. You take advantage of the primes of Mookie, Freddie, and extended Will Smith. It's time to win this year. It truly, truly is. And that's why I think that you have to be as aggressive as ever. And I think this organization realizes that to do that and get themselves over the top, they've been burned in the past. I only get mad at the Dodgers when I think that they haven't learned their lessons, right? And I think they have learned their lesson, right? Going out there, you want some more flavor, give me a Teoscar.
Yes.
Bring back Kipe. They've learned their lesson from that, right? Go get Randy Arozarena. The ultimate lesson that they haven't proven to me that they've learned from is when the season turns into a season of Squid Game and people are dying left and right and they're losing all these key stars, to wait for them to come back. And this is where they can prove it this time around, saying, you know what, like I said in the show, I'd rather have it, not need it, than need it, not have it. Yep. This is where the Dodgers can prove that right now. And also, Andrew Friedman can make his first big blockbuster trade since they've expanded the postseason. So couldn't be more excited. I'll be really depressed if they don't do anything, but at least I'll feel alive about the anger and the madness.
I like the feeling there, the vibes. It's like if they win this year, we're not talking a repeat, a three-peat, or even a four-peat. We're talking minimum 8-peat, just like the Bulls.
Exactly. 10-peat, baby.
Just a 10-peat. Why not? The last thing, I want to throw it out there just so I don't forget it. You mentioned Randy Arozarena. You mentioned the postseason. He's that guy. He's at his best when the lights are the brightest. What did Andrew Friedman tell us last year, at the end of season, whatever you want to call it, postmortem, whatever it is. There's the word, postmortem. He was asked. I think Bill Plunkett asked him, like, who are the guys? How do you know when you're going to go find a guy that's a postseason performer? I think they found some of them. Maybe it's a Shohei. We haven't seen that. Say Oscar Hernandez. He's one of those guys. Randy, 100% one of those guys. So you got to add to those pieces. You got to add one of those pieces at least to the mix. But Doug,
Clint,
I'm going to get
Randy
you.
Arozarena, I will do a shoey out of one of his cowboy boots. Okay, I'm telling you that right now. I will. The electricity. I've said that Teoscar Hernandez is like Puig without the drama, right? I mean, I need a little more drama, right? Randy doesn't do it to his teammates, kind of do it to the other teams and just kind of fire things up. But day one, he immediately becomes one of the most popular players on the team.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Hands
it's
down.
going to be a movement, man.
Hands down. Doug McKain, everybody. That is the man, the myth, the legend. Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. I got one last segment before Doug gets out of here, but you guys already know who the fuck he is. You know where to find him. But Doug, tell the people what you do. Star of film and screen and of YouTube. Tell them where to find you.
You guys can follow me at DMAC_LA. Be sure to watch my show, Locked On Rams, Monday through Friday, about your Los Angeles Rams. Also, Dodgers Dugout Live, everything over on Dodgers Nation. But, Clint, we like to joke around. All honesty, man, could not thank you enough, man. You really got me into this madness in Dodger Bay's bio. Everything to you, man. I'm happy about all your success, killing the game. I love the shows. And, yeah, man, definitely we'll do it again soon, my man.
Yes, sir. Hopefully we have a lot to talk about after this trade deadline, but get the hell out of here. Go live your life, guys. That is, again, Doug McKain. Appreciate that, man. He's one of my favorite people in this business. And look at that. The people here hanging out, worried that there's beef between me and my boy. There's never been no beef between me and Doug. It's all love all the time for DMAC_LA. But before we do get out of here, I appreciate you guys hanging out in the chat. I didn't expect us to go an hour and a half, but here we are. I said this was going to be the super ultra mega spectacular trade deadline edition of the show, and we're making it that. We're making it that. If you're new to the channel for some reason, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. I'd really appreciate the hell out of you if you did it. We just hit 7,000 subscribers. Because of that 7,000 subscribers, I, for some reason, had to buy this Funfetti City Connect hat. So, that I have, and we're kind of dealing with it. So anyways, let's talk briefly. Oh, did I say it? I think I said it. If not, I really appreciate you guys hanging out in the chat. I know I didn't get to as many of the comments as I usually would, but me and Doug haven't done a show together. We haven't done my show in like 3 months, so we had a lot to talk about. Now we got a lot to talk about with the Houston Astros series, the final Dodger series final full series before the trade deadline happens on Tuesday, and I don't care. I don't care about the Astros. I don't care about 2017. This team doesn't need added smoke, added fire, added spark, added anything. All they need to do is just do their thing. Show up there, keep this momentum going that has been running since the start of this second half, unofficial second half. Of course, All-Star break happens at a weird time, but keep the momentum going. You just took 6 of 7 to open the first half or the second half of the season. The other thing is try not to break any more players. No more injuries. No hurt pitchers. No rolled ankles. No blown out elbows from Miguel Rojas or something. Just keep it chill, my babies. Keep it chill. So Dodgers are bringing it, I guess we'll say, somewhat bringing it there in Houston. You got Gavin Stone, the ace, if you want to call him that. Gavin Stoner goes tomorrow against the Houston ace, current ace, kind of, Framber Valdez. Hasn't been as electric as he's been in the past, but it's still Framber. He's still a very, very good pitcher. Justin Robleski gets maybe his final start as a big leaguer before maybe getting traded, or until going to AAA because they made some moves. But he goes against Ronel Blanco, who's already thrown a no-hitter. I think it was this season. Did he throw a no-hitter as N-Rocks? I'm going to hit the clap for that. Wants the Dodgers. I'm saying, don't just who cares that it's the Astros? But N-Rocks wants to have Bregman and little Jose Altuve get drilled because why not? Ken Wolcott, let's go to this real quick. Any word on Taylor? Last I saw, there was no update on Taylor. I didn't see if they did anything post-game on CT3, but it seems like CT is going to be out for a decent stretch of time. And this is where I'm hoping for somebody, like talking to Doug about Isaiah Kiner Falefa. I'm hoping that they can get somebody like that can play some third base. Again, IKF has won a Gold Glove as a third baseman. You get somebody that can play some short. And what I love about IKF, he can even catch if you need him to. They need somebody that has that insane versatility, somebody that's the definite anti, Cavan Biggio, so he can be gone, but somebody that can be there and maybe even fill in, take over for Kike Hernandez if Kike hasn't figured it out, by the end of September. So no updates on CT3 at the moment, but I'm a little worried about his situation. Cole wants Taylor to go on the 255-day injured list. I don't think that one's going to happen, but we could always hope, we could always pray. Final day, Sunday, Dodgers. Ace rookie, I'll call him. River Ryan takes the bump against whatever a Spencer Arrighetti is. I don't know. I know that the Houston Astros have had a lot of issues with their injuries in their pitching rotation. So whatever an Arrighetti is, that's who they're facing on Sunday. So my final not so hot take for this upcoming series is just I feel like it's time to put the bad blood to rest. Like, there are more important things to worry about than beaning dudes for something that they did 5-6 years ago. Just move on. Worry about now. Worry about your team. Worry about your own stuff. Go win the deadline and win a World Series. That's the thing. Mr. Classic, I love that. Our win is the deadline, not the Astros. I like that, and I think we sign off on that one. IB Strokin's got a really good point there, guys. If you were looking for a way to support the channel, I do all of this for free, but if some people are kind enough to want to support, we got a Patreon, patreon.com/realfrg. With that, you also get access to our Discord server where we have conversations. We're going to continue this conversation after the show. Keep talking about trades, keep talking about people that we would like to see this team go out and pick up. So again, patreon.com/realfrg. It's $5 a month. You get some things. You also get access to our voicemail overreactions hotline. Some cool stuff. I think it's fun. I would like it if I were supporting somebody. It's also available on the wherever we put it here on YouTube members. I think that's about it, guys. If you're broke, that's fine. I see you, Sergio. I love the way you spell it, by the way. If you're broke, that's fine. The best way you could also support is by hitting that subscribe button. So subscribe. Hit the thumbs up if you would not mind on the way out. I appreciate the hell out of you guys for being here. I appreciate the hell out of Doug for being here. He's a busy man. He's got a lot of things going on, and you know what? He talks a lot, and sometimes he needs a break. But he in lieu of taking a break, he came to hang out with us, and we appreciate that. If you guys missed it, I did interview Gavin Lux on my other show, Dodgers Territory, which is on part of the Foul Territory Network. Check it out. Co-host that with Alana Rizzo. So that just dropped yesterday. Go subscribe to that channel too, if you wouldn't mind. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you so damn much for all the great questions, the conversation, the love affair, seeing me and Doug back together here in the chat. Appreciate you guys. And also thank you so damn much for the super chats for people who did drop them in there. Ivy Strokin for gifting some memberships. That's another thing that's awesome. Again, people with the new memberships, let me know. Reach out to me so I can get you signed up on Discord. You can join the conversation. It's going to be a fun one as the trade deadline is here and through the trade deadline. Got to thank our existing Patreon members and supporters. Thank the YouTube members, also supporters. You guys are freaking amazing. You really help out. Again, I have no financial backing on this show. This is just me and a whole bunch of stuff that I bought. So you guys really, really help out the channel. Got to thank also our wonderful moderators for doing a kick-ass job in making this conversation I argue what you see over there. That's the best chat on YouTube. Somebody fight me about it. Anyways, they do an awesome job. You guys are awesome. All Dodgers is presented by Bet Online. Use that promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV. You get that 50% welcome bonus up to $250. I am Real FRG on all the social media things. Give me a follow there if you would not mind. If you don't want to, that's cool. Anyways, hope we earned a thumbs up on the way out. Hopefully we earned a subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Okay, bye.